Listen closely, because if these words have found you, it is not by accident. You are not scrolling randomly. You are answering a call that has been echoing across timelines, waiting for you to awake. The shift is not in the distant future. It is already happening within you, and your future self is reaching back through the corridors of time to activate what you came here to embody. This message is not for everyone. It is for the ones who are ready to see, to remember, and to step forward before the window closes. You are standing at the threshold between who you thought you were and who you already are, and the strange part is that both identities feel true. You wake each day inside a body that has carried memories, choices, and patterns, yet something inside you knows this is only the surface. There is a deeper layer, a blueprint written before your birth, a silent memory that your future self is trying to press into your awareness. That is why at times you feel an ache you cannot explain, a yearning that no amount of success or distraction fully soothes. It is not dissatisfaction with life. It is the whisper of recognition, the pull towards something you once knew but temporarily forgot. You are not being asked to abandon yourself, only to remember yourself, and that remembrance feels both familiar and terrifying because it threatens to unravel everything you thought was solid. Think of those fleeting moments when reality feels slightly tilted, when déjà vu strikes, and you are certain you have lived this exact scene before, or when a dream feels so vivid, it lingers in your body as though it was more real than waking life. These are not glitches in your mind. They are signals, echoes from your future self, reminding you that time is not linear in the way you were taught. What you call the future is simply another layer of now, pressing in, nudging you, activating what is already encoded within you. And yet the paradox is that while your future self is already whole, you still must choose to step into alignment with it. This is the threshold, the thin line between repeating cycles that no longer nourish you, and stepping forward into a timeline that feels like destiny. You may have noticed how old patterns suddenly feel unbearable, how the conversations that once entertained you now sound hollow, how the relationships you tolerated for years now press against you like clothes that no longer fit. This discomfort is not punishment. It is proof that you are outgrowing the smaller version of yourself. Your future self is activating the shift by stripping away illusions you can no longer hide behind. You might resist, clinging to familiar routines because at least they are predictable, but deep down you know they no longer sustain you. The job that feels like a cage, the friendship that drains you, the thought patterns that spiral endlessly. These are fragments of an old story, and your future self is asking, will you carry them forward, or will you step into the greater narrative? It is tempting to wait for perfect clarity before moving forward, but clarity rarely comes before action. The shift begins not when you understand every step, but when you choose to trust the pull even while the path is still hidden. Your future self is not promising ease, but it is promising alignment, and alignment brings a kind of peace that no external success can manufacture. It is the peace of knowing you are exactly where you need to be, even if others cannot see it, even if the outer evidence has not yet caught up. You are not falling apart, you are falling into place. The unraveling you fear is actually the weaving of a higher pattern, and the only thing being destroyed is the illusion that you were ever anything less than infinite. Consider how a seed must crack open for the sprout to emerge. To the seed, the breaking feels like death, but to life itself it is fulfillment. In the same way, the versions of you that are crumbling were never meant to survive the shift. They were placeholders, scaffolding that brought you this far, but now the architecture of your destiny requires them to dissolve. And though your mind may resist, your soul sighs in relief, because it has been waiting for this exact moment, the threshold where remembering begins. You are not being punished for what no longer works. You are being invited to release it, so you can step into what has always been yours. The paradox here is that you are not becoming someone new. You are remembering what you already are. Growth is not an addition but a subtraction, a peeling back of layers until your essence stands revealed. That is why in quiet moments, when you set aside distractions, you feel a strange familiarity with the person you are becoming. It is not new. It is ancient. It is the you that existed before doubt, before fear, before the conditioning that taught you to shrink. And yet stepping into this remembrance requires courage, because it demands that you trust what you feel more than what you see. It asks you to prioritize resonance over logic, inner knowing over outer approval. Your future self is activating the shift, not as a distant figure but as a presence within you, guiding you through intuition, synchronicity, and subtle nudges. Every time you feel pulled toward a path you cannot explain, every time a coincidence arrives at the perfect moment, it is that self collapsing timelines to bring you closer. You may dismiss it as imagination, but the truth is imagination itself is the language of your future self. What you dream, what you envision, what you sense but cannot yet hold, that is the map, and the urgency is real, because ignoring these signals does not pause the shift. It simply delays your alignment. Time keeps moving, but destiny waits for your recognition. This threshold is not permanent. Doors open for a season, and if you hesitate too long, they close, not out of cruelty but out of rhythm. Life flows in cycles, and you are being offered an opening, a window into your greater becoming. You have felt it, that subtle sense of now or never, that quickened heartbeat when you consider a leap, that strange alignment, where everything feels like it is pointing in one direction. That is your invitation, and ignoring it keeps you circling the same lessons in slightly different form. But answering it propels you into a new chapter, where your future self walks with you, not as a whisper, but as a companion. So you stand here, between two versions of yourself. One is familiar, safe, bound by repetition. The other is luminous, expansive, calling you into mystery. Both are possible, but only one is destiny. This is not a warning meant to scare you. It is a reminder meant to awaken you. The shift is not somewhere out there waiting. It is right here, pressing against your chest, asking for your yes. And the urgency is not because time is running out, but because alignment is offering itself in this very moment. Your role is not to create the future but to remember it, to step into the timeline that is already unfolding. You are the threshold, you are the shift, and the choice is now. This is happening because your energy has reached a point where the old can no longer sustain you. And although it feels unsettling, it is the greatest sign of progress. You are not broken, you are evolving, you are not failing, you are shifting. The places, people, and patterns that once felt comfortable now weigh on you because your vibration is rising beyond them. Imagine trying to wear shoes 2 sizes too small at first. You may tolerate the pressure, but eventually the discomfort becomes unbearable. That is what you are feeling now. Not punishment, but expansion. Your life is stretching to hold more of who you really are, and anything too small must fall away. Have you noticed how certain habits that once distracted you no longer give you the same relief? The scrolling that used to numb your thoughts feels empty. The conversations you once repeated now drain you. The routines you could once tolerate now feel suffocating. This is not boredom, it is awakening. Your nervous system is rejecting the frequencies of your old self. Your body and spirit are working together, pushing you away from what cannot follow you into the next stage. And while your mind may cling to the familiar, your soul knows the truth. You cannot stay where you are and still become who you are meant to be. It is like the moment a caterpillar begins to dissolve in the chrysalis. From the outside it appears as if nothing is happening, but on the inside everything is breaking down. The old form cannot carry wings, so it must surrender to disintegration. And though the caterpillar might panic at losing its shape, the butterfly has already been written into its DNA. That is what your future self is activating in you. The process of dissolution that feels like chaos, but is really reconfiguration. You are not ending, you are emerging. And the mess you see around you is only the evidence that you are no longer aligned with what once held you. Think of the moments when you feel restless, unable to settle into the life you've built. That restlessness is not ingratitude. It is a signal. It means you are vibrating at a frequency that no longer matches your surroundings. You may find yourself growing frustrated with things you once overlooked, a workplace that feels too shallow, a friendship where you can no longer hide your truth, a routine that feels like walking in circles. The frustration is not a flaw. It is the birth pangs of the shift. Just as a plant outgrows its pot, you are pushing against the edges of your container, and the edges are beginning to crack. But here is the paradox. You often mistake this growth for loss. You think, why am I suddenly unable to enjoy what I used to? Why does everything feel like it's falling apart? But in reality, nothing is wrong. You are simply no longer a match for your old reality. You have outgrown the vibrations that once sustained you, and so they must dissolve. Sometimes suddenly, sometimes painfully. Yet what you call endings are actually beginnings disguised in unfamiliar clothing. The job that collapses leaves space for the path you were avoiding. The relationship that breaks leaves room for deeper alignment. The routine that no longer works pushes you to create a new rhythm that resonates with who you are becoming. Your future self is orchestrating this with precision. You think it is random when opportunities disappear or when relationships shift. But it is not random. It is choreography. The universe is pulling you into resonance. Even when your mind cannot yet see the pattern, you might resist, trying to cling to what is leaving. But notice how heavy resistance feels. It exhausts you, because you are holding on to something already dissolving. Release feels lighter not because it is easier, but because it is true. You were not designed to carry expired versions of yourself. You were designed to evolve through them. Look closely at your daily life and you will see the signs. The sudden tension with someone who once understood you is not failure. It is divergence. The exhaustion you feel when repeating an old routine is not laziness. It is your energy refusing to loop in circles. The growing dissatisfaction with shallow interactions is not you being too demanding. It is your vibration craving depth. These are all confirmations that your future self is activating the shift. You are being nudged, gently at first, and then more forcefully, until you cannot ignore it. And the longer you resist, the louder it becomes. Not because the universe is cruel, but because destiny is insistent. Consider how rivers carve new paths. When the old channels no longer carry enough flow, they do not apologize for shifting course. They simply follow gravity toward the sea. In the same way, your energy is redirecting itself. The projects that once excited you may now feel meaningless because they are no longer aligned with your deeper calling. The connections that once defined you may now fade because they cannot hold the new current running through you. The shift is not asking for permission. It is happening because you are ready, even if your mind doubts it. And here is another paradox. What feels like losing control is actually the beginning of true alignment. When the old falls apart, you are being given a chance to trust the unseen. It is easy to trust when everything looks stable. The real initiation is to trust when everything looks uncertain. Your future self already knows the outcome, already sees the road that will open once you stop clinging to what is closing. But it cannot force your trust. That is your choice, your initiation. Every time you release what feels heavy, you create space for what feels destined. The urgency lies in the fact that the shift will not wait indefinitely. If you resist too long, you risk circling the same lessons, repeating the same patterns, delaying the timeline that is calling you. This is not punishment. It is rhythm. Life moves in cycles, and when one cycle ends, a new one begins. Whether or not you choose to step into it, the only difference is whether you walk willingly or are dragged by circumstances. Your future self is offering you the path of willingness, the path of surrender, the path where you release the old with open hands so the new can rush in. So when you feel the discomfort rising, do not panic. Recognize it as evidence that you are in transition. When your routines stop working, see it as proof that your spirit is refusing to settle for less. When old identities crack, know that a greater self is pressing through. You are not being punished for what no longer fits. You are being liberated from it. And if you choose to surrender instead of resist, the shift will unfold with grace. But if you cling, the shift will still happen, only with friction. This is your sign. Stop holding on to what dissolves when you touch it. Stop forcing yourself into spaces that shrink you. Stop convincing yourself to tolerate what your soul has already outgrown. Every cell in your body is vibrating with the memory of what you came here to be, and your future self is pressing those memories into your awareness. Trust the discomfort, for it is the proof that you are ready. Trust the endings, for they are the doorway. Trust the shift, because it is not against you, it is you, and it is happening now. You are not behind, you are exactly on time, even if your mind has convinced you otherwise. There is a part of you that constantly compares your path to the imagined timelines of others, that whispers you should be further along, that tells you opportunities have been missed and the window is closing. But this is only the echo of conditioning, not the voice of truth. The paradox is that your future self is not some distant version of you waiting at the finish line. It is already here, beside you, collapsing timelines so that what you call destiny can be lived in real time. Every step, even the ones you label mistakes, has been part of the choreography. Every detour, every delay, every closed door has been part of the design that leads you to this very threshold. You have not been wasting time. You have been ripening for the moment when the shift could finally activate within you. Think about the sudden insights that arrive unannounced, the flashes of intuition that pierce through your thoughts like lightning. Think about the dreams that linger in your body even after you wake, the ones that feel more like memory than imagination. These are not random. They are the fingerprints of your future self guiding you, whispering directions, weaving reminders into your awareness. When you have those moments of inner knowing, when something feels true before you can explain it, that is the language of the self that already exists beyond time. It is not ahead of you. It is within you, pressing against the edges of your perception, asking to be trusted. And yet the human mind craves linearity. It wants certainty, a clear order of events, milestones it can measure to prove progress. But the shift is not linear. It is quantum. It happens in leaps, in convergences, in sudden alignments where months of stillness give way to one moment that changes everything. That is why you feel the tension of waiting, the paradox of being ready and yet unsure what you are ready for. You are not late. You are being prepared. Just as fruit cannot ripen before its season, your timeline cannot unfold before the moment is aligned. Your future self knows this and whispers patience, but your mind translates it into doubt. Trust the ripening, for it is sacred. Consider the times when you thought you had missed your chance, only to see later how perfect the timing actually was. The relationship that didn't work years ago made space for one that carried deeper resonance. The opportunity you lost opened the path to something that aligned far more closely with your calling. What felt like failure was simply delay, until your frequency matched what was waiting for you. This is why you are not behind. Life is not punishing you with detours. It is protecting you until you are aligned. The shift requires readiness, and readiness is not something you rush. It is something you allow. And yet there is urgency, not the urgency of scarcity, but the urgency of recognition. When synchronicities appear, when life begins to line up with strange precision, you are being invited to pay attention. The numbers that repeat on clocks, the words you overhear at the exact moment you need them, the song that plays as if scripted for your situation. These are not coincidences. They are signals from your future self saying this is the path. If you dismiss them, they fade. But if you honor them, they multiply. Your awareness is the switch that turns the whispers into guidance. Ignoring them is not missing out forever, but it is prolonging the loop. And the shift asks you to step out of loop. You may think you are waiting for life to give you a sign, but in truth, life is waiting for you to notice the signs already here. Every gut feeling you dismissed, every spark of inspiration you ignored, was a message from the version of you who has already crossed the threshold. It does not chastise you when you ignore. It simply sends the next message, and the next, until you cannot deny it anymore. This is grace, the infinite patience of your higher self. But grace also comes with responsibility, because when you finally see, you are asked to act. Recognition without action keeps you stuck. Awareness without embodiment delays the shift. Think of the moments when you felt you should have acted sooner but didn't. Even those moments are perfect, for they taught you the weight of hesitation. They showed you what it feels like to deny your intuition, and that memory becomes fuel the next time guidance arrives. Your future self wastes nothing. Every pause becomes part of the momentum. Every stumble becomes part of the stride. You cannot be behind when every step, even the missteps, are woven into alignment. The paradox is that delay is also on time. The shift honors both. And yet this does not mean you should drift passively. Being exactly on time does not excuse avoidance. There is a difference between patience and stagnation, between trust and apathy. Your future self activates the shift through your willingness, through your choice to listen even when logic cannot explain, through your courage to follow the pull even when fear says wait. The alignment is here, but you must step into it. Presence is destiny. The more present you are, the more the future folds itself into now. You are not late, you are layered. One layer is shedding, while another is emerging. One timeline is closing, while another is opening. This is why you sometimes feel the contradiction of mourning and excitement at the same time, grief and hope in the same breath. The shift is not tidy, it is paradoxical. You are releasing who you were, while embodying who you are, and both truths coexist in the same moment. That is why your emotions feel stretched across opposites, because you are spanning multiple timelines at once. Your future self is holding them together until you choose which to embody. The urgency is not about racing ahead. It is about recognizing the choice before you. You are not behind, but you could delay your alignment if you continue to dismiss the whispers, the synchronicities, the discomforts that nudge you forward. Your future self cannot drag you. It can only call you, and the call is growing loud. The more you ignore it, the more restless you will feel. The more the old life will feel suffocating, not because you are being punished, but because you are out of rhythm with yourself. Harmony feels like relief. Resistance feels like chaos. Which will you choose? So release the illusion of being behind. Release the shame of missed opportunities, for they were never missed. Release the idea that you should be elsewhere, for you are exactly where you need to be to step into the shift. Everything has been preparation. Every delay was divine timing. Every moment of waiting has ripened you for this exact now. Your future self is not out of reach. It is here, woven into your intuition, your synchronicities, your dream. The shift is not waiting for the perfect version of you. It is waiting for the present version of you to recognize what has always been true. You are not late. You are not lost. You are not falling behind. You are right on time, and now is the moment to step forward. This is not coincidence. It is confirmation. Life is not throwing random pieces onto your path. It is arranging them with precision, weaving them into a pattern that your soul already recognizes, even if your mind struggles to believe. The shift reveals itself not through grand proclamations, but through the subtle, ordinary details of your daily life. The chance encounter that sparks a new thought, the opportunity that appears at the exact moment you feel ready, the unexpected ending that makes space for something better. All of these are the fingerprints of your future self, moving quietly, moving deliberately, arranging the stage for your next act. You are not stumbling through chaos. You are being guided through choreography. Think about the times when something arrived at the perfect moment, almost too perfectly, as if it had been waiting for you. The job that appeared just when you needed stability. The mentor who appeared just when you were ready to learn. The book that fell into your hands at the exact moment its words answered the question you had been silently carrying. These are not accidents. They are confirmations that the shift is real, and that your future self is intervening in ways you cannot logically explain. Synchronicity is the language of the higher self, and the more you notice it, the more fluent you become. The paradox is that while these alignments feel miraculous, they are also ordinary, because they are meant to be natural. The miraculous is not the exception. It is the default when you are aligned. You were taught to believe that life is random, that everything is chance, that meaning is something you invent. But the truth is that meaning is woven into everything, and randomness is only what alignment looks like when you are asleep. Once you awaken, you see the thread, you feel the pattern, You recognize that each coincidence is actually confirmation that the shift is unfolding exactly as it should. You may resist this because your mind wants certainty, and certainty demands proof. Your mind asks, what if this is just coincidence? What if I am imagining it? But your soul already knows. Your body already feels the resonance, that sense of inner yes that needs no external validation. Think about when you meet someone new and instantly feel like you've known them before. Logic tries to dismiss it, but your being knows it is recognition. That is your future self, placing the right person in your path, not as a distraction but as a mirror, a guide, or a companion for this stage of your evolution. And yet the shift is fragile in its early stages, because it requires your participation. Life can place the opportunity before you, but it cannot force you to walk through the door. Your future self can arrange the synchronicity, but it cannot override your free will. The yes must come from you. Every time you hesitate, every time you ignore the nudge, every time you delay the leap, the door does not disappear. It simply waits, but only for a season. Windows open and close in rhythm with your readiness. And if you continue to say no, life will honor your choice, even if that choice keeps you circling the same lessons. This is why hesitation feels so heavy. It is not simply indecision. It is the weight of misalignment. When you feel yourself drawn towards something that excites and scares you at the same time, that is your future self showing you the door. Fear says, stay still, but excitement says, leap. The paradox is that both fear and excitement point to the same truth. Something significant is waiting. Fear is only the echo of your old self, afraid to dissolve, while excitement is the voice of your future self calling you forward. When you say yes, you shift timelines. When you say no, you keep repeating the old ones. Consider how many times you have already felt this pattern. The job you almost applied for but convinced yourself you weren't ready. The relationship you felt drawn to but silenced your heart out of fear. The creative idea that sparked in your mind but was buried under doubt. Each of these was a doorway, each one arranged by your future self as confirmation that the shift was ready to activate. Even if you did not walk through then, another door will come, because grace is relentless. But what you lose with each hesitation is not destiny itself, but the ease of alignment. The shift becomes heavier when you resist it, lighter when you allow it. You may ask, how do I know which doors to walk through? The truth is that you already know. The ones that resonate, the ones that feel alive, the ones that stir something deeper than logic. Those are the doors. You are not being asked to walk through every opening, only the ones that feel like destiny disguised as possibility. Logic will give you reasons to wait. Society will give you reasons to doubt, but your soul will give you resonance, and resonance never lies. The urgency lies here. Resonance is fleeting. If you ignore it too long, it fades, not because it was false, but because it demands presence. Your future self cannot activate the shift through a distracted version of you. It can only meet the you who is fully here, fully listening, fully willing. This is why the signs keep repeating until you notice. This is why synchronicities feel louder the more you ignore them. The universe will keep confirming until you finally recognize that coincidence is not coincidence at all. Think of it this way. You are both the dreamer and the dreamed. Your future self is dreaming you into being, arranging symbols and patterns as clues in your waking life. The question is not whether the dream is real. The question is whether you are awake enough to see it. If you are, you will notice how everything begins to align. The right people, the right words, the right moments, all converging as if by design. If you are not, you will dismiss them as chance and continue waiting for a sign that is already flashing before you. But you are here now, listening, and that means you are ready. You are not being fooled by coincidences. You are being guided by confirmation. Every pull you feel is real. Every nudge matters. Every alignment is sacred. Stop asking for proof, because the proof is the pull itself. Stop waiting for the perfect moment, because the moment is now. Stop treating synchronicity as strange, because it is your natural state when you are aligned with your future self. So say yes. Say yes to the door that opens even if you cannot see what lies behind it. Say yes to the conversation that feels significant even if you don't know what. Say yes to the opportunity that feels bigger than you, because it is supposed to be. Your yes is the ignition, the spark that allows your future self to pour more of its reality into yours. The shift is already here. It is simply waiting for your recognition, your willingness, your surrender. And this is your reminder. Coincidence is confirmation. What looks accidental is deliberate. What feels random is precise. Your future self is moving the pieces. The universe is aligning the threads. And all you need to do is listen, trust, and step through. The shift is not fragile because it will fail. It is fragile because it requires your yes, and your yes is the key. The door you are standing before is not made of wood or stone. It is made of resonance. It is not locked with bolts or chains. It is locked only by your hesitation. The truth is that no one else can open it for you. No one else can give you permission to pass through. The door responds to your yes, and your yes alone. And yet here is the paradox. While you believe you are the one choosing to walk through, in reality, it is your future self already calling you in, already pulling you across. The door opens because you are the key. You were always the key, though for so long you believed the lock was outside you. Every threshold is both an ending and a beginning. Something of you dissolves when you pass through, and something greater emerges. This is why doors feel frightening. Why hesitation rises so sharply when the possibility appears. The old self knows it cannot come with you. The old identity clings because it senses its own death in your transformation. And yet, that death is not loss. It is release. It is expansion. It is the shedding of a skin that was once necessary but is no longer alive. The shift is never about becoming something you are not. It is about stepping into what you always were but could not yet hold. When you linger too long outside the door, life grows heavier. You feel the weight of stagnation, pressure of an energy that wants to move but is held back. That heaviness is not punishment. It is guidance. It is your being reminding you that movement is your nature. Water that does not flow becomes stagnant. Energy that does not expand becomes suffocating. A soul that does not evolve becomes restless. The discomfort of hesitation is proof of your readiness, a sign that the threshold is already waiting, and yet still the final step must come from you. Have you noticed that each time you have said yes to life, something opened that you could not have predicted? That when you trusted without guarantees, doors led to rooms you did not know existed, and each room contained another doorway. This is the endless unfolding of the shift. One yes leads to another yes. One step creates the ground for the next. One leap creates wings where none existed before. The map is never given in advance, because your soul did not come here for certainty. It came for expansion, and certainty is the opposite of expansion. Think of the moments you have already lived when you said yes before you felt ready. You discovered that readiness was not a condition you had to wait for. It was something that bloomed after you stepped through. The leap itself created the wings. The choice itself created the capacity. That is the paradox. Readiness does not precede the threshold. It is born from crossing it. Waiting until you feel ready is how you delay the very transformation that will make you ready. The shift does not require that you be fully formed. It requires that you be willing to dissolve what you are so that you can hold what you are becoming. And you will not be abandoned on the other side. The same intelligence that aligned the door for you has already aligned the ground you will land upon. Your future self is not a distant vision. It is already present, already alive, arranging support, placing synchronicities, weaving a net of grace beneath every leap. You cannot fall where alignment has prepared a place for you. Yes, you may stumble. Yes, you may feel the uncertainty of newness. But even that is sacred. Even that is woven into the choreography of becoming. The door then is not a barrier. It is an initiation. It is the place where faith meets form, where potential becomes actual, where energy collapses into reality. Each door you walk through collapses one version of you and expands another, and if you look closely, you will realize that you have been walking through doors your whole life. The first time you said yes to love, the first time you left behind what was safe to pursue, what was alive, the first time you trusted the voice within you over the noise around you. Each of those moments was a doorway. Each yes was a key. Each choice a passage into a deeper version of yourself. But now the doors arrive more quickly, more insistently, because you are in the season of acceleration. The shift does not move at the speed of your comfort. It moves at the speed of your readiness. And you are more ready than you believe. That is why the doors are appearing one after another, why synchronicities feel louder, why opportunities feel both terrifying and irresistible. You are being invited to step into a rhythm where hesitation has no place, where trust becomes your natural state, where saying yes becomes as instinctive as breathing. And yet, hear this clearly. The yes does not mean you will not feel fear. Fear is not proof you are on the wrong path. It is proof you are standing at the threshold of transformation. Fear is simply the echo of the self you are leaving behind. It cannot see what lies beyond, so it imagines danger, but your soul knows. Your resonance knows. The fear will dissolve as you move, but if you wait for fear to vanish before you act, you will wait forever. The yes must come in the presence of fear, not in its absence. That is what makes it sacred. The shift is not about becoming fearless. It is about becoming faithful to the resonance you feel, faithful to the pull you cannot explain, faithful to the vision of yourself that feels more true than the version you are shedding. Faith is the force that dissolves the illusion of the locked door. Faith is what turns coincidence into confirmation, resistance into revelation, hesitation into momentum. Faith is the yes spoken in the dark, before the light reveals the path. And every yes spoken in the dark becomes a flame that lights the way for others. This is how the shift spreads, not through teachings or instructions, but through resonance. Each time you say yes, you become a frequency that others can feel. You become living confirmation for those who are still standing outside their own doors, wondering if they dare step through. Your leap becomes their sign. Your transformation becomes their mirror. Your resonance becomes their invitation. This is why your yes matters, not only for you, but for the countless others whose awakening is entangled with yours. So here you stand again, before another door. Perhaps it looks like an opportunity. Perhaps it looks like a relationship. Perhaps it looks like a calling you can no longer ignore. Whatever its form, the essence is the same. It is your future self, standing on the other side, whispering that you are ready. The question is not whether the door will open. The question is whether you will step through. And deep down you already know the answer, because you have felt the pull, you have seen the signs, you have recognized the pattern. This is not new. It is simply the next. So let your yes be full. Let it be unshaken. Let it be the key that turns what was once invisible into form. Say yes to the door. Even if your voice trembles, say yes to the leap. Even if your knees shake, say yes to the unfolding. Even if your mind demands certainty, because your soul already knows, your resonance has already confirmed, and your future self is already waiting. The shift is not ahead of you. It is here, and all that remains is your yes. Responsibility has been painted for so long as a weight, as a burden, as something heavy that chains you to duty. But in truth, real responsibility is liberation. It is the awakening to the fact that you are a carrier of light in a world that has forgotten its own brilliance. You are not here to bear the weight of the world as if it were a punishment. You are here to realize that your frequency changes the world simply by being expressed. That is responsibility in its sacred form. Not obligation, but contribution. You are contributing to the rising of the whole by daring to embody your future self now, in this moment. This shift is not just about you, though it feels deeply personal. It moves through you. Yes, but it radiates beyond you. Every choice you make is like a ripple in water. When you speak truth instead of hiding it, when you choose alignment over convenience, when you trust the pull of your intuition instead of the weight of fear, You create waves that touch people you may never even meet. Someone you pass by in silence may feel lighter because your energy shifted the field around them. Someone who hears you speak may unlock something inside themselves without even realizing it was your resonance that did it. This is responsibility, not because you must force it, but because it happens naturally once you awaken. Think of how the sun never debates whether it should rise or not. It does not ask for permission. It does not shrink its light in fear of being too much. It does not apologize for existing. It simply shines, and in its shining, everything around it begins to live. Trees reach toward it, flowers bloom, people wake, seasons change. The sun does not carry this as a burden. It carries it as its nature. In the same way, your future self does not call you into the shift so that you can labor under the weight of saving others. It calls you because your nature, when fully embodied, is to awaken others simply by existing. That is the paradox. You are responsible not through effort, but through authenticity. And yet authenticity often feels like rebellion in a world trained to reward conformity. That is why it feels heavy at first. To speak what you truly believe, to act on the whispers of your soul, to live from the blueprint that your future self is activating, it often feels dangerous. You fear being misunderstood, rejected, dismissed. But the deeper truth is this: you are not here to be understood by everyone. You are here to resonate with the ones who are ready. And when you choose alignment, those who are ready find you, as if pulled by magnetism. Your responsibility is not to convince anyone. It is to become undeniable. Notice how when you shift, others around you begin to shift as well. Sometimes it is subtle. A friend begins to question their own patterns after watching you leave yours. Sometimes it is dramatic. People resist you, pull away, or even try to anchor you back into the old reality. But even that resistance is proof of the resonance you carry. You disturb the illusion simply by not playing along with it anymore. That is a form of responsibility too, not to make others comfortable, but to show them what is possible. To be the mirror that reveals where they are asleep, even if they close their eyes tighter at first. And this ripple is never contained to just one life. You carry ancestral echoes in your bloodline, patterns passed down through generations, cycles repeated unconsciously because no one before you dared to interrupt them. But here you are, standing in the shift, feeling the weight of what has been and the pull of what could. Your responsibility is not just for yourself. It is for those who came before and those who will come after. Every time you heal backwards and forwards at once. Every time you break a cycle, your ancestors sigh in relief and your descendants rejoice in possibility. The shift is cosmic, but it is also intimate. It touches the whole, and it touches your family line, your friendships, your lineage, your children, whether born or unborn. You are the turning point. Do not mistake responsibility for perfection. Your future self is not calling you to become flawless, untouchable, or above human struggles. In fact, it is the opposite. It is calling you to be so deeply human that your humanity becomes divine. Responsibility means showing up fully, even when you fall. It means returning to alignment when you notice you have strayed. It means carrying grace for yourself, so that others may learn to carry grace for themselves too. You do not lead by pretending to never stumble. You lead by showing that stumbles are part of the. You become proof that even in imperfection, the shift unfolds. The paradox here is that responsibility is both deeply personal and utterly collective. You are not the center of the universe, yet you are the access point through which the universe expresses itself. Every choice you make is yours alone, yet those choices echo into the lives of countless others. You are free, and yet you are connected. You are singular, and yet you are everyone. That is the sacred balance you are learning to hold, that your life belongs to you and it belongs to the whole. To deny your own expansion is to deny expansion for those connected to you. To embrace your expansion is to give silent permission for others to do the same. So here you are, in the midst of this unfolding, and the call is not to shrink from responsibility but to redefine it. Do not carry it as a weight. Carry it as a crown. Responsibility is not about burden. It is about sovereignty. It is about realizing that your presence is a form of leadership, that your resonance is a gift, that your alignment is medicine. It is about realizing that every step you take into authenticity clears a path for someone else. And when the path clears, others will walk, even if they do not know your name. This is your initiation into service. But service not as sacrifice, service as overflow, service as natural consequence of living aligned. You do not have to try to save anyone. Your responsibility is simply to live so fully that your frequency itself becomes healing, and that frequency will find those who need it most. You will not always see the impact, but it will exist. Someone you smiled at today may decide not to give up on themselves because of the way you carried light in your eyes. Someone who overhears your words may begin a journey they never would have started otherwise. Someone who watches you say yes to your calling may realize they can say yes to theirs. You are responsible because you are visible, and being visible is no longer optional. It is destiny. The shift is not waiting. The collective is not waiting. The earth itself is not waiting. The vibration is rising, and your role is to rise with it, to embody the future self that has already arrived, to be the resonance others can recognize. This is not about pressure. It is about truth. You already know you are here for this. You already feel the weight and the light of it. You already sense that your choices matter in ways you cannot fully measure. And you already know that the time is now. Say yes to responsibility, not as duty, but as destiny. Say yes to carrying your light without apology. Say yes to embodying your future self, so fully that the world cannot help but shift around you. This is not a burden. This is an honor. This is your role in the collective shift. And once you embrace it, the universe itself will conspire to magnify your resonance. You are ready, and the world is waiting. You have been taught to believe that control is safety, that the more you can plan, manage, and grip tightly onto the shape of your life, the more secure you will feel. But you are beginning to see the cracks in that illusion, aren't you? Because the more you try to hold on, the more things slip through your fingers. The more you try to lock everything into place, the more it unravels. This is not failure. It is revelation. It is life showing you that control was never the true source of safety. Alignment is, you are not losing control. You are surrendering into a current that has always been guiding you, even when you thought you were steering yourself alone. Think of a river. It does not fight against gravity. It does not argue with the bends of the earth. It simply flows, and in its flowing it always arrives where it is meant to. The river does not need a map. It does not need certainty. Its trust is its power, and the paradox is that in surrendering to the pull of gravity, it discovers its own path, carving valleys and nourishing life as it moves. In the same way, your future self is the current beneath your life, pulling you forward even when you resist. And each time something falls apart, each time a plan dissolves, each time a relationship ends or a structure crumbles, it is not chaos. It is choreography. It is the river removing the stones that block your flow. At first it feels like loss, the ending of what you thought you needed, the collapse of what you built with so much effort. You grieve it, you resist it, you fear it. And yet if you look back at your life, you will see how every ending was also a beginning, how every disruption cleared space for something truer to arrive. The job you lost created the space for the work that finally aligned with your soul. The relationship that ended freed you to discover a deeper love, one that honored you. The failure that humiliated you was the crack through which new wisdom entered. What feels like destruction is often construction in disguise. This is the paradox. Loss is not loss. It is transformation. And the more you surrender, the more you begin to recognize the hidden order within what seemed like disorder. You begin to trust the timing of your own unfolding. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What is this making possible for me?" And that shift of question changes everything. Suddenly you are no longer fighting against the current. You are swimming with it. Suddenly the places you arrive at feel more alive, more aligned, more like home, even if you never would have chosen them. Conscious surrender allows you to see that your soul knows what your mind cannot yet imagine. Control is rooted in fear. It is the mind's attempt to protect you from the unknown. But the unknown is not your enemy. It is your door. Everything you desire, everything your future self is calling you into, exists in the unknown. If you cling only to what is familiar, you cannot receive what is meant for you. So the very thing you fear, the mystery, is the very place where your destiny lives. That is why surrender feels terrifying at first, but liberating once you taste it, because you realize that life is not against you. It is for you, and it has always been conspiring in your favor. The paradox is that surrender does not mean passivity. It is not about sitting still and waiting for life to happen to you. It is about participating fully, but without resistance. It is about showing up, taking action, saying yes, moving forward, but doing so with openness instead of rigidity. It is choosing to align with the current rather than fighting it. When you surrender, you become fluid, adaptable, alive. You stop needing certainty and start living in trust. And in that trust, you discover a freedom that control could never offer. Have you noticed how in moments when you finally let go, things tend to resolve themselves? You struggle, you push, you obsess, you force, and nothing works. And then exhausted, you release, you breathe, you accept. And suddenly, without effort, the phone rings, the opportunity appears, the path clears. That is not coincidence. It is the intelligence of alignment responding to your surrender. It is proof that the current was always moving. You were just resisting it. Even your struggles are not mistakes. They are part of the choreography, part of the dance between control and surrender. They teach you where you are gripping too tightly, where you are trying to force what is not meant for you, where you are building structures that cannot hold your expansion. Struggle is a teacher, not a punishment. It shows you what cannot continue, and it invites you to release. The moment you see this, struggle itself begins to soften, because you no longer view it as an enemy. You see it as the river carving a deeper channel through you, preparing you to carry more flow. And as you learn to surrender, you begin to notice something profound. Synchronicities multiply, signs become clearer, doors open with less resistance, conversations align perfectly, opportunities appear at the exact moment you need them. This is the universe's way of confirming that you are in the current, that you are flowing with your future self, and the more you trust it, the more magical it becomes. Life begins to feel less like a struggle to survive and more like a dance to remember. This surrender is not weakness, it is strength. It takes courage to let go of control, to trust the unseen, to move without guarantees. But in that courage, you discover the truth. You were never in control anyway. You were always being guided. Your plans were never wasted. They were simply steps on the path of remembering. Even the detours were part of the map. Even the detours were part of the map. Even the delays were divine timing. Even the heartbreak was an initiation. And now, as you surrender more deeply, you begin to see that nothing was ever truly against you. It was always shaping you, preparing you, carrying you. So if you feel as though things are crumbling, let them. If you feel as though the ground is shifting, trust. If you feel as though you are falling, remember that the net has already been woven. Your future self is the net. Your alignment is the net. The current will carry you exactly where you are meant to be. The doorway is not ahead of you. It is beneath your feet, waiting for your surrender to activate it. Let your grip loosen. Let your trust deepen. Let yourself flow like the river that has never once doubted gravity. Because just as water always finds its way back to the ocean, you will always find your way back to your destiny. The shift is not asking you to control. It is asking you to remember that you are carried. And once you remember, you can finally rest in the truth. Surrender is not the end of your power. It is the beginning of. This is not just a shift. It is the shift. The one you have felt echoing in your chest, long before you had words for it. That restlessness you carried. That quiet dissatisfaction even when everything on the surface looked fine. That sense that something larger was waiting for you. That was not a flaw. That was the pulse of destiny pressing against the walls of your ordinary life, urging you toward expansion. You did not imagine it. You were not wrong to feel out of place in the structures the world told you were enough. You were simply tuned to a frequency most people spend their lives ignoring, and now that frequency is no longer a whisper. It is a call, and it cannot be silenced. The shift is not somewhere you are traveling toward in the distance. It is happening in you, through you, as you. The urgency you feel is not external pressure. It is the soul's clock striking the hour. It is time, and you know it. Every coincidence, every synchronicity, every moment when reality bends in ways you cannot explain. They are not random. They are signals. They are confirmation. They are the language your future self uses to remind you that the doorway has already opened. And here is the paradox. The shift is both personal and collective. It feels intimate, like the most private awakening of your own being. Yet at the same time, it ripples into the fabric of everything. When you rise, the whole rises with you. When you awaken, countless others are touched by your frequency. Even if you never know their names, you are not separate from the great movement unfolding on this planet. You are one of its living instruments. Your heartbeat is part of the rhythm. Your breath is part of the wave. The very fact that you are hearing these words now is proof that you are a participant, not an observer. Do you feel how reality itself seems thinner now? How the veil between what is possible and what is real feels almost transparent? That is the time is bending. Destiny is quickening. The path between thought and manifestation is collapsing. You think it, you feel it, and suddenly it is in your life. This acceleration is not happening to punish you or to overwhelm you. It is happening because you are ready. The tools you once needed to crawl are no longer necessary. You are being called to walk, to run, to fly. The training wheels are off, and though it feels unstable, it is actually freedom. You are not becoming something different. You are remembering who you already are. That is the paradox at the center of the shift. The future self you dream about, the higher version you aspire to, is not distant. It is reaching back through time. It is here. It is breathing with you now. That's why you feel the pull, why you sense the urgency. You are not chasing something ahead. You are collapsing into something within. You are not waiting to arrive. You are realizing you already arrived the moment you accepted it. And yet this realization demands action. To awaken and then ignore the call is more painful than never having heard it at all. To glimpse your power and then pretend you are powerless is to fracture yourself. That is why this feels so urgent, because ignoring it is no longer an option. You can distract yourself for a while. You can numb yourself with routines and noise, but the whisper will become a roar. Destiny does not vanish simply because you close your eyes to it. It waits, it presses, it breaks through in dreams, in signs, in strange alignments that remind you that you cannot run from what you were made for. The shift is not asking you to abandon your humanity. It is asking you to embody it more fully than ever before, to let yourself feel the depth of this life, to honor your pain and your joy as sacred, to stop playing small and call it humility. The world does not need you half awake. It needs you lit up. Your future self is not a saint floating above the human experience. It is you, but more whole, more integrated, more alive. It is you without the masks you've been taught to wear. It is you finally unapologetic about your own light. And yes, there will be resistance. The old world does not let go easily. Systems built on fear will try to tug you back into conformity. People who benefit from your smaller self will resist your expansion. Even parts of your own mind will try to convince you that it's safer to stay the same. But you are stronger than all of it, because the shift is not powered by your ego. It is powered by your soul, and your soul cannot be stopped. You might delay, you might hesitate, but eventually the current will pull you into your becoming. You cannot miss what is yours. You can only choose how gracefully you allow it. The beauty of this moment is that you are not alone. Millions of others are feeling the same pull, the same restlessness, the same urgency. Some know what it is, some do not. Some will rise now, some later, but all are being moved by the same tide. And when you choose to step into the shift, you become a beacon, you become evidence, you become a reminder that this is real, that awakening is possible, that the future self is not a fantasy but a frequency that can be embodied now. Do not underestimate the power of a single awakened person. Whole lineages heal through one choice. Whole communities shift when one individual carries alignment. Entire realities collapse and rebuild when one person dares to live as their future self in the present moment. That is you. That is your role. Not to save the world, but to be so fully yourself that the world cannot help but shift in response. So feel the urgency, not as fear but as invitation. The clock is not ticking down against you. It is ringing in celebration for you. It is saying now, not later, now. Because the shift is not coming. The shift is not ahead of you. The shift is you, and it is already happening. Breathe this in. Let it settle into your bones. You are not lost. You are not late. You are not behind. You are precisely where the current has carried you, standing exactly where you need to be. Your future self is not a stranger waiting somewhere down the road. It is here, whispering through your intuition, guiding your choices, shaping your path. You are both the seed and the bloom, the traveler and the destination, the question and the answer. You are the shift, and the shift is now. So let this be your initiation. Do not just hear these words. Embody them. Do not just nod in agreement. Act on them. Do not wait for more signs. You are the sign. Stand in your frequency. Claim your future self. Speak the yes that only you can speak. And once you do, reality itself will bend around your decision. Because the universe always conspires with alignment. The shift has already begun, and your role is not optional. It is written, it is chosen, and it is time. Take this moment as initiation. Do not let these words be entertainment. Let them be embodiment. Say it silently. I accept the shift. I align with my future self. I choose now. Because once you claim it, the path opens, and there is no turning back. Watch closely, for signs will multiply. You are ready.